I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. Never in a million years. My name's Mark, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for almost 10 years now. We seemed like the perfect couple, happy, stable, working toward starting a family. We'd gone through the long, exhausting process of adopting a kid, and everything was finally falling into place. I thought we had our life planned out, and I honestly believed Lisa was the one I'd spend the rest of my days with. That's why what I discovered hit me like a freight train. The signs started small, little things that didn't make sense. Lisa started acting distant, more irritable, and she'd hide her phone when I was around. At first, I thought she was just stressed with the adoption stuff or maybe work. She's always been a little bitchy when she's stressed, snapping at me over nothing. But then I noticed she was spending more time on her phone late at night, typing furiously, and deleting messages fast when I'd walk into the room. She'd say she was reviewing paperwork, that she was reviewing placement options for the adoption, but I had this gut feeling that something was. Right, one Saturday I decided to do a little digging. I know, bad move, but I was desperate. I checked her phone when she was in the shower. That's when I saw it, texts back and forth with someone named Chris, talking about how they had great sex last night and how she was so glad it was us and not her loser husband. My stomach dropped. My heart started pounding. I couldn't believe it. I saw pictures of them sneaking out for late nights, meeting somewhere I never even suspected, her favorite restaurant, but it was clear what it was really about. They had been texting, cheating behind my back while I was gathering financial documents, helping her prepare for the home study, trying to give her a good life, and she was screwing around with some random guy. I couldn't breathe. My world stopped spinning for a second. All those nights I stayed up helping her prepare for the adoption, thinking she was just stressed, just busy. Turns out she was busy doing something else entirely. I was furious, blinding, uncontrollable rage. I felt sick, betrayed, lied to on a scale I never imagined. All the time she told me she loved me, that I was her everything. It was all a lie. She was out there in our house, our bed, with some guy I didn't even know. My mind kept racing over what I'd seen, what I'd just uncovered. I had to confront her, but I didn't know how. That night I waited until she was in bed, her phone tucked under her pillow. I grabbed it, trembling, and started reading through her recent messages again. She was talking dirty, using words I'd never even heard her say, talking about how much she missed his cock, how good it felt, and how she wanted to see him again. I couldn't believe the audacity. The rage boiled over. I knew I had to face her. I had to know what she was thinking, what she was feeling when she was with him while I was sitting right there, oblivious to the whole thing. So I woke her up. I told her I knew. I told her I'd seen everything. Her face twisted into this bitchy, cold expression, like I was bothering her. She sat up and tried to lie her way out of it instantly, said it was just flirty. Texting that Chris was just a friend and that I was overreacting. I knew better. I looked her in the eyes and told her I wasn't stupid. I said I knew she was sleeping with him, that she had been lying to me from the start. Her eyes flashed with anger and she snapped back that I was paranoid, jealous, and that I needed to back off because she had better things to do. It was like talking to a wall. I felt a deep, aching pain I couldn't shake. My mind kept circling back to everything. The secrets she kept, the nights she sneaked away, the false smiles she put on when she pretended everything was fine. I felt betrayed on every level, not just because she cheated, but because she lied so effortlessly, so bitchily, as if she didn't care how much she was hurting me. I've never hated someone as much as I hated her in that moment. She told me she loved me, but I knew that was a lie. I saw the truth, plain as day, in her eyes, in her texts, in her betrayal. I'd never felt so alone, so lost, and I kept asking myself how I got here, how I missed all the signs. I don't know how I managed to stay calm that night. Inside, I was boiling, but I knew I had to think, to plan. I couldn't just blow up and ruin everything without knowing what I was doing. But I swear, the moment I saw those texts, I started plotting. I wasn't going to let her keep lying, keep playing me for a fool. I had to do something, but I wasn't sure if I was ready to face the full fallout yet. I just knew I'd never trust her again, not after this. Not after she'd betrayed everything we built together, everything I believed in. The next few days were a blur of anger, hurt, and a strange kind of clarity. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Every time I looked at her, I saw the lies in her eyes, the way she'd thrown her phone on the bed and tried to act like everything was normal. She kept insisting it was just something innocent, that Chris was just a friend, and that I was blowing everything out of proportion. That's when her real bitchiness started to come through. She told me I was crazy, that I was possessive, and that I should get a grip, because she was done with this ridiculous jealousy. Honestly, I'd never hated her more. It was like she was trying to gaslight me to make me feel like I was the crazy one. I knew I needed to get more concrete evidence. I couldn't just accuse her based on texts, so I started monitoring her. I installed a keylogger on her phone, which I hated doing but felt I had no choice. Every message, every call, every photo, I wanted to be sure. The more I watched, the worse it got. I saw her sneaking out at night, meeting him in some dingy parking lot, then sneaking back in when she thought I wouldn't notice. She'd come back late, exhausted, and act like nothing was wrong. Meanwhile, I was spiraling inside, trying to keep it together while my world was falling apart. One evening, I decided I'd had enough of her lies. I confronted her again, this time more direct. I told her I'd been watching her, that I knew everything, that I was sick of her BS, her lies, her bitchy attitude. Then she snapped. She started yelling, calling me paranoid, accusing me of cheating myself because I was insecure. She said I was just jealous because she was more attractive than me, and that I should stop acting like some cuckold. That was a punch to the gut, her openly throwing in my face that she was cheating and she didn't care. It was like she was daring me to do something about it. I felt my fists tight, but I kept my cool, mostly because I knew I needed to think. I told her she could keep lying, but I wasn't stupid anymore. I knew she'd been cheating on me during the entire adoption process, pretending to be committed to our future while screwing around behind my back. I told her she was a bitch, that I was done playing her game, and that I was going to do something about it. That's when the true damage was done. I could see her eyes narrowing, the cold smile she gave me. She said, "Go ahead, do whatever you want. You're just a jealous husband who can't handle a little sex." That phrase hit me hard. Sex. She was so dismissive, like it was just a game for her. By then, I'd seen enough. I was angry, but also incredibly sad. I felt betrayed on every level, my trust shattered, my future with her crumbling before my eyes. I spent the next few days trying to process everything, feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. I couldn't believe I let it go on so long, that I didn't see the signs. I kept asking myself how I missed all of it, how I didn't notice her sneaking around, how I didn't realize she was so capable of lying and cheating. But I knew this wasn't just about the affair. It was about her complete lack of respect for me, for what we had built. I started planning my move. I couldn't stay with someone who had no regard for my feelings, who thought she could cheat on me behind my back and then lie her way out of it. I knew I had to confront her again, but this time with a plan. I wanted to catch her in the act, make her face what she'd done, make her realize I wasn't going to be some cuckold just because she was bitchy and manipulative. I also didn't want to blow everything up without knowing for sure, so I kept my composure, waiting for the right moment to make my move. I needed her to slip up, to show her true colors one more time, and I was ready for it. Over the next week, I stayed quiet, watching her every move. I didn't say much, but inside I was burning up with anger and determination. I knew I had to catch her in the act if I wanted to do this right. I started calling her out more often, acting distant, pushing her to the edge. She got more bitchy, snapping at me for accusing her of things she didn't do, but I could see the cracks in her calm facade. That bitchy attitude was a mask, and I knew she was hiding something even deeper beneath it. One night I decided enough was enough. I'd set a trap. I told her I was going to be working late for a couple of nights, something I'd planned for a while, and told her I'd be at the office until late. She rolled her eyes, said I was clinging to my paranoia, but I didn't care. I had already installed a GPS tracker on her car, and I knew exactly where she was going. Late that night, I followed her, hiding behind some trees near that dingy parking lot she'd been meeting Chris at. I watched her get out of the car, looking around nervously. Then she met up with him, Chris, with his dirty hair and smug face just like I saw in the texts. I felt like I was going to explode. Watching her in that moment was worse than any punch to the stomach. She was kissing him, touching him, surely doing things I never imagined she'd do with someone else. The anger surged through me like a tidal wave. I took pictures, recorded everything, knowing I needed concrete proof. I wasn't going to let her deny it now. My fists clenched so tightly that my palms hurt, but I kept watching, knowing this was the moment I'd finally catch her red-handed. When she finally got back in her car and drove away, I felt a strange mixture of relief and rage. Relief because I had what I needed, and rage because I knew the truth now and there was no going back. I went home, heart pounding, and waited until she was asleep. Then I pulled out the evidence I'd gathered, photos and recordings. I sat there staring at them, feeling the weight of it all. I wanted to scream, cry, do something to make her see what she'd done. But mostly, I knew I had to be calm when I confronted her again. The next morning, I woke up early, determined. I woke her up and laid the evidence on the bed. Her eyes widened when she saw the photos of her meeting Chris in that lot, her lips pressed together in a guilty grimace. She looked at me then, her face twisting into that bitchy scowl she always used when she was backed into a corner. She started to lie again, claiming I was crazy, that it was just a one-time thing, that it didn't mean anything. But I just shook my head. I told her I wasn't going to listen to her lies anymore. That I knew everything. That she had been cheating on me during the whole process of trying to adopt our future child. That she had been lying about reviewing placement options and screwing around with some guy behind my back. Her reaction was pure bitchy defiance. She threw a pillow at me and called me a jealous psycho, told me I was ruining everything, and that I needed to stop controlling her. Her voice was sharp, resentful. It was clear she didn't care about the pain she'd caused, she only cared about herself. That moment I realized she'd been manipulative from the start, pretending everything was fine while secretly having this affair. I saw how she lied, how she dismissed my feelings, and how she thought she could get away with it. I felt my blood boil. I couldn't believe I'd let her get away with so much for so long. My mind was racing through all the memories, the good ones, the bad ones, the lies I never saw coming. I thought about the future, about our child, about everything I'd invested in this marriage. But in the end, I knew one thing: I couldn't stay with her. Not after this. Not after she'd betrayed me so completely, so arrogantly. That day I made a decision. I told her to pack her things. I told her she was done. I didn't want her in my house anymore, not while she was still lying and sneaking behind my back. She argued, of course, called me crazy, said I was overreacting, but I didn't care. I was done listening to the bullshit. I wanted her gone, and I wanted her to know that her betrayal had cost her everything. I felt a strange sense of relief, but also a deep, aching sadness. I thought I'd found my partner, my future, and all I got was betrayal and lies. But I knew I'd be okay, better without her maybe. I just had to pick up the pieces and move on. After she packed her bags and left that morning, I didn't feel any immediate relief, just a hollow, heavy emptiness. I sat in the silence of the house, staring at the empty space where she'd been. For a long time, I couldn't even process what had just happened. It felt unreal, like I was watching from outside my own life. The betrayal cut so deep, I almost couldn't believe I'd been blind to it for so long. She'd lied to me about everything, including her commitment to our future child, while she was out screwing around with Chris. The thought of her in our house, pretending to be the perfect wife, just made me sick. I kept replaying the moments where she snapped at me, called me jealous, and the way she dismissed my feelings like I was some nagging idiot. I knew I had to start rebuilding, but it was hard. I kept feeling waves of anger, sadness, and confusion. I trusted her with everything, my hopes, my dreams, my future, and she had thrown it all away for some guy who probably meant nothing to her, or maybe he did. I'll never know for sure, but what I did know was that she was a liar, and I wasn't going to be her fool anymore. I wasn't going to stay in a marriage where I was constantly looking over my shoulder, wondering if she was sneaking off to meet someone else. That afternoon, I started making calls. I reached out to a lawyer, told him everything. I needed to get legal advice, figure out what my rights were, what I could do to protect myself and any future plans I might have. I also started thinking about my own mental health. I reached out to a counselor just to talk. I wasn't ready to face everything alone. The pain was still raw and I needed some guidance. Honestly, I felt like I was caught in a bad dream. I kept waiting for it to end, for someone to wake me up and tell me this was all just a mistake. But I knew it was. I had concrete proof now, proof I could use if I decided to pursue a divorce. In the following days, I threw myself into work. I wanted to distract myself, but inside I was constantly haunted by what she'd done. I kept thinking about all the moments I'd trusted her, all the times she'd lied straight to my face, and how she'd betrayed our future for something so shallow. I'd never felt so betrayed, so humiliated, and so alone. I also started seeing how much her attitude had shifted from the woman I knew. She was bitchy, dismissive, and so full of herself, like she thought she could get away with anything. Her reviewing placement options excuse, just a cover-up for her affair. I realized she'd used that as a shield, a way to hide her lies under the guise of doing what's best for the kid. At the same time, I felt a strange sense of freedom. I was free from her manipulations, her lies, her bitchy attitude. I could finally breathe again. But part of me kept wondering if I'd ever really trusted her or if I had been fooling myself all along. I looked back on our years together and I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? How did I not see her cheating? Was I so blind? The answer was yes. I'd been so focused on our future, on building a life, that I ignored the cracks in her personality, the little things that now seemed so obvious. That night, I sat in my living room, staring at my phone, thinking about what to do next. I knew I had to confront her once more, but this time, with everything laid out and no room for her to lie her way out of it. I also knew I needed to start thinking about my own future. Maybe I'd got into this marriage thinking it was forever, but now I realized that forever could be a long, painful road if it was built on lies. I wasn't going to be some idiot who stayed because I felt guilty or because I thought I had to. No, I was done. Done with her, done with the lies, done with feeling like a fool. The hardest part was accepting I might never get the answers I wanted. Did she love Chris? Was she just bored? Did she really think she could keep this secret forever? I'll never know the full truth. But what I do know is that she doesn't deserve me. She doesn't deserve my trust or my forgiveness for what she did. All I can do now is pick myself up, move on, and learn from this nightmare. I've been betrayed, yes, but I'm still standing, and I'll be stronger because of it. The days that followed were a whirlwind of legal consultations, packing, and trying to piece my life back together. I told myself I'd start fresh, but honestly, the wounds felt fresh every morning. I'd wake up and remember her bitchy smirk when she lied to my face, the way she dismissed my feelings like they were nothing. I kept replaying every argument, every silent treatment, every time she dismissed me as possessive or paranoid. I realized how deeply I'd trusted her, how much I'd sacrificed to make this marriage work, yet she'd been cheating on me for who knows how long. The thought of her in our house, with her lies and manipulations, made me sick. I started thinking about what I wanted next. Part of me wanted to fight for her, to somehow fix what was broken, but deep down, I knew that wasn't possible. She lied too many times, betrayed me too badly. I couldn't see myself trusting her again, not after what I'd uncovered, so I made the decision to divorce. It wasn't an easy choice, breaking up something I believed in for so long, but I realized I deserved better than a bitchy wife who thought she could screw around and get away with it. Even with that decision made, I knew I had to handle the aftermath carefully. I told her lawyer I wanted a clean break, no messy accusations, no drawn-out fights. I just wanted out, with everything settled quickly so I could move on. I also reached out to a therapist, knowing I'd need help processing everything: the betrayal, the anger, the sadness. It was hard to admit I was hurt, but I knew bottling it up wouldn't do me any favors. I needed to let it out and find a way to heal. Meanwhile, I told a few close friends about what happened. I didn't want to keep it bottled up. I needed someone to listen, someone who could give me honest advice. Their reactions ranged from shock to anger at her, and some told me I was lucky to find out before it was too late. That made me feel a little better. At least I wasn't alone in feeling betrayed. I also started looking into moving out, into renting a new place. I couldn't stay in that house, not with all the memories of her bitchy attitude and her lies. I needed a fresh start, somewhere I could breathe without constantly thinking about her. The worst part was how she kept trying to manipulate the situation even after leaving. She kept texting, claiming she made a mistake, that she still loved me, and that she wanted to work things out. Honestly, it just made me angrier. She thought she could buy her way back into my life or manipulate me into forgiving her. But I knew better now. I saw her for what she really was, a selfish, lying bitch who cared only about herself. I didn't want her in my future anymore. I realized I'd been so blind, so naive, but now I was finally seeing her true face and I couldn't look back. It's funny in a way. The pain is still there, that deep ache that never quite goes away. But I've started to accept it as part of my journey. I'm learning how to rebuild my trust in myself again, how to be cautious with people who seem kind but hide a bitchy streak underneath. I've become more aware of the signs I missed, and I vow not to let anyone treat me with disrespect again. I learned that the betrayal isn't just about her cheating, it's about how she lied, dismissed my feelings, and thought she was above everything. That kind of arrogance is what pushed me to finally say enough. Now I'm focusing on me. I've started working out, reconnecting with old friends, and even considering therapy seriously. I want to be better, stronger, and most importantly, happier. I know I'll get through this. It's going to take time. But I also know that I'll never forget what she did. That lesson won't fade, and it's made me realize that I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who truly cares. Not a bitchy wife who cheats, lies, and dismisses her own vows like they're nothing. I'll rebuild from this and I'll come out the other side better. Because, at the end of the day, I refuse to let betrayal define me. I'm taking my life back, one step at a time. It's been a few months now since she left, and honestly, it's been one of the hardest times of my life. But I'll tell you, I've learned a lot from this experience, about trust, about honesty, and about my own strength. I used to think I knew everything about my marriage, but I was blind. She was good at hiding her true self, at pretending to be the perfect wife while secretly cheating behind my back. That bitchy attitude, the lies, the manipulations, they all added up to one big betrayal that I never saw coming. But I also learned that I don't have to accept betrayal. I don't have to stay in a relationship built on lies. Getting rid of her was just the first step. Now I focus on rebuilding my life piece by piece. I've started to see my worth again, and I refuse to let her betrayal define me. I realize that I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who values me, not a woman who thinks she can screw around and dismiss everything we built as if it's nothing. That realization gives me hope. I know I'll find happiness again, maybe even with someone new, someone who truly cares. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs earlier. I wish I'd been more aware, more cautious. But I also know that no one is perfect, and sometimes you just have to accept that people reveal their true selves in the end. The pain of betrayal will always be there, but I refuse to let it break me. Instead, I see it as a lesson, one I'll carry with me forever. It's made me stronger, smarter, more aware of what real love and loyalty look like. I want to leave this story with a bit of advice for anyone who might be going through something similar. Trust your instincts. Don't ignore the small signs. If someone is acting distant, hiding their phone, or dismissing your feelings, don't brush it off. Dig deeper. Be honest with yourself about what you see, even if it hurts. Because the pain of ignoring it is worse than facing the truth. And when you do find out someone you loved has betrayed you, remember, it's not the end. It's a new beginning. One where you learn your worth, rebuild your confidence, and realize that you're better off without someone who doesn't respect or love you as you deserve. Now, I'm focusing on my own happiness, my own future. And no matter how much it hurts right now, I know I'll be okay. I've lost a lot, but I've gained clarity. I've gained strength. And most importantly, I've gained the knowledge that I will never let someone treat me like I'm nothing. I will never settle for less than respect and honesty again. That's the real lesson I take from all of this. Never compromise your worth for someone who doesn't see it. Because in the end, the only person responsible for your happiness is you. and I plan to make sure I'm happy, even if it means doing it alone.